What's going on, YouTube? What's going on, Facebook? Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate you being here. I want to report a story that's becoming one of the biggest stories in the world because of the precedents that it has, depending which way it goes, which is the trucker protest in Canada that is being smeared by the media, that is being shut down by GoFundMe. There's an update, two updates actually. Ottawa mayor declares state of emergency. We're going to talk about that, read it from both sides. And then also, I have a press release. Apparently, the CBC, which is Canada News, they showed a press release from GiveSendGo, the Christian-based fundraising site, and they're claiming that they've raised over $4.5 million. Well, not them, with people's help, $4.5 million on a GoFundMe alternative, GiveSendGo, and they're explaining why they're allowing it to happen, unlike GoFundMe. I have all that information. I'm going to read the press release, give you guys all the official stuff, and also my opinion, perspective on stuff. And then I also want to talk about free speech, the right to free expression, the right to free protest, and very importantly, the authoritarianism that's becoming the new normal. This unfortunately, I think, became a political issue in a lot of places, like liberal versus conservative, Trump, anti-Trump, etc. But really, like, it's basic common sense. Governments over history. I'm not trying to scare people, but governments have killed tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people. Government is not perfect. America was created on rebelling against a foreign government that became, obsolete once we have our constitution, etc. And this idea that you shouldn't be allowed to question government is crazy. This idea that you shouldn't be allowed to protest is crazy. And what people don't understand, I'm not saying the virus is fake. I'm not starting a conspiracy theory. I'm just saying whether you agree it's justified or not doesn't matter. The truth is they're using this entire pandemic as an excuse to be more authoritarian. Now, while NPR might write a stupid smear article and act like I'm a conspiracy theorist, it's not even really a theory. It's a fact. The question is, they're becoming more authoritarian. They're becoming more big brother government. Is it justified or is it not justified? That's the real discussion. I think it's justified. I think it's not justified. There is no real debate about whether it's happening or not. So this is like this naive mindset that people have. It's like, oh, well, that's a crazy theory. No, it's literally happening. The question is it justified or not? I believe it's not justified. So does a lot of people. And I think people are very, 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 I could say very a lot, so I'll just shut up. Very naive and foolish if they think that governments around the world, our government, Canadian governments, et cetera, local governments, if they're just going to give up this emergency order super, super easy or not try to exploit this emergency for their own political, financial, or social gains. I mean, what a fool you have to be at this point, 2 years into 15 days to slow the spread, to not think that that's happening. And before I read the story, first of all, I want to say, they will say in Canada and America, the CDC, et cetera, the science is settled, right? That's their propaganda term, so nobody questions their narrative. It's settled. Don't do experiments. Don't question. Don't read the data. Just believe us. That's what they want people to do. But this idea, if the science is settled, how come the World Health Organization disagrees with the CDC? If the science is settled, how come there's Scandinavian countries opening up travel with no testing? Meanwhile, Justin Trudeau's psychotic behind won't allow truckers to get in and out of the country without a test. So the science doesn't seem to be settled anywhere in the world. You have a lot of European countries admitting that it's time to go back to normal. And America and Canada seem to want to keep this going forever. So who's lying? Is Europe lying? Is the World Health Organization lying? Or is Canada and America lying? Because something's not adding up. They want you to believe through their propaganda that every scientist in the world agrees and all the governments are working exactly at the same time. They're actually really not. They're actually starting to kick out restrictions way quicker in Europe, which is, before I start, really embarrassing for North America, especially America. We're supposed to be the freedom beacon of the world. And through the pandemic, started under Trump, finished under Biden. Now it's Biden's responsibility. He's the president. We are not even like a top 10 free country in this world. I guess we have the First Amendment, Second Amendment, but as far as pandemic freedom, we have fallen far, far behind thanks to the Biden administration. So that's what it is. And then last thing real quick, I don't do ads right now. I don't, I'm not sponsored by, products I don't believe in, and I couldn't do that to you. And if there ever is a product I believe in, maybe I'll sell it. But for now, dreamrare.com, that's my website, dreamrare.com or godblesshats.com. We have shirts, etc. That helps fund the operation. I'm going to bring somebody on to get more content, help me with editing. So thank you guys for your support on that. Thanks for watching everything. All right, let's get into it. stayintouchwithme.com too, my free email list. That helps a lot. So let's just read this statement right real quick. This is by Katie Simpson of the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It says, statement given by GiveSendGo, the Christian-based fundraising site that is collecting donation for the protests of Ottawa. So she's reporting this is apparently what GiveSendGo is saying. And real quick, to be very clear, GiveSendGo is where the truckers' protests are now going to raise money because GoFundMe kicked them off. So GoFundMe, liberal, liars, left-wing, double standards, bragging about CHOP, no police zones, now acting like they love the police of Ottawa, etc. So GiveSendGo is their rival at GoFundMe, and they're raising money. Here's the apparent alleged statement from GiveSendGo. It says, GiveSendGo does not condone violence of any form. We believe there's more power in the unity of a peaceful protest than in violent civil unrest. As in any polarized situation, we recognize there will be a few individuals and groups that might intentionally try to incite violence, which will be used to stain this movement by opposing groups. We will not broad stroke those individual situations as a depiction of what this movement represents as if they were affiliated. GiveSendGo has also been in contact with the campaign organizers and has received full assurance that all funds raised will go to provide humanitarian aid and legal support for the peaceful truckers and their families as they stand for freedom. In light of allowing this campaign, we have seen an overwhelming outpouring of support from across the globe, said GiveSendGo co-founder Heather Wilson. This has quickly become GiveSendGo's largest campaign ever and has raised over 4.5 million United States dollars in less than 24 hours. So that's their statement. They're saying, we're not going to group everybody together and act like it's all a violent thing when it's not. We understand that there will be probably some individuals, and that is not a reflection of the whole group. So real quick, that's their point of view. Let's just read psychotic NBC News real quick, because I'm like reading, they always just try to brainwash people. They're like white supremacy, swastikas, like Nazi. And it's like, they're so ignorant. The protest is about the mandates. This is something all of humanity is facing: forced masking, forced injections. As Europe opens, these evil people in left-wing media, and in some cases right-wing media, they're trying to brainwash people reading this as if this is some sort of fringe far-right thing for some sort of when it's really a human issue that we're all facing, and they're very, very clear about what they want. Let's read NBC News. The mayor of Canada's capital declared a state of emergency Sunday to deal with an unprecedented protest that has seen truckers shut down Ottawa's core for more than a week over COVID-19 rules. All right, they admitted that, thank goodness. But here's the second paragraph. Dubbed the Freedom Convoy, this demonstration has been seen hundreds of truckers block the city streets, blaring their horns and disrupting traffic. But the protest has also drawn backlash over alleged harassment, as well as the presence of Confederate flags and bearing swastikas. So within like the second paragraph, they're like, yeah, but swastikas though. And it's like, my goodness, there's people of every race, religion, gender there. They're protesting the mandates. Europe is starting to open. America's getting closed. Doug Ford's a psychopath. Justin Trudeau thinks he's like transracial, Whoopi Goldberg, Rachel Dolezal type. Our countries are suffering. People are mentally being abused. They can't go to gyms in certain areas, and everybody's tired of it. That's what the protest is about, but they can't just admit that. They have to try to smear it as some sort of crazy thing. And here's what's very important, because I'm going to tie this into something that, my friend Jen Psaki, and when I say my friend, have we ever met? No. If politics, a few drinks, would we be friends? I'm sure we could be in a perfect world. But in general, when I say my friend Jen Psaki, I'm not going to say she's really my friend, but my fellow American, Jen Psaki, she's recently been talking a lot about false flags. False flag, false flag, false flag, says Jen Psaki. She's probably she has talked about false flags more in the last 2 weeks than I have in the last year. So, I guess apparently she is an elite liberal supremacist who is allowed to talk about false flags, but anybody else is deemed a conspiracy theorist. Isn't that interesting? So the reason that I want to bring this up is because she's claiming that Russia is going to possibly stage a false flag, or she's not claiming it. This is U.S. intelligence, et cetera, that she's just relaying the message. And she says false flag quite a bit now and talks about it. Okay, so here's why I'm bringing this up. Let's say, and this is not my opinion, Jen Psaki is accusing Russia of that. In 2016, in the election, there was footage of people paying mentally ill people to cause violence at Trump rallies. If you look through history, whether it be the Lavon affair, there's dozens of ones I can't think of right now. There are confirmed false flags all over the world. This is not this crazy thing that never happens. This is something that has happened in history and has happened in the present because it's a successful way to do something. Do I need to go start a war? Well, we need a reason. Do I need to shut down that protest? Well, we need a reason. So this idea that false flags is a conspiracy theory you can't talk about is disproven by the fact that Jen Psaki herself is talking about false flags in a foreign country, saying that they're going to use it as justification. And I think she should be allowed to say that. But you can't have social media sites and liberals acting like it's crazy when other people talk about it. So the reason that I do that is because people don't realize how easy it would be. If you want to smear a Black Lives Matter protest, I'm not going to say I've seen this, but I think I have seen on Twitter people debunk this sort of things at different groups, like trying to make, their political enemies look terrible. People have gone undercover at events and like waved crazy flags, taken a picture of it. And now you have a picture of a crazy flag. It's literally that easy. If I want, and I wouldn't do this because I'm not this type of person. I don't like to do any sort of stuff like this. But if I really wanted to, I could go to an Antifa or a Black Lives Matter little rally, and I could hold up a crazy sign that makes them look like psychopaths and Nazis. Someone could take a picture of me wearing a mask covering my face like Antifa, and then I could post on my social media, oh my gosh, and guess what would happen if I did that? Every right-wing media company would cover it. I'm sure, I'm not going to say I'm sure, but major right-wing medias would love that story. Oh my God, look, Antifa are literally Nazis, and they wouldn't even question if it was real or not. Vice versa, you could have a liberal go to a trucker protest or a liberal go to, a Trump rally, hold up a swastika, and then they could act like it's a neo-Nazi rally when literally nobody was even aware of who that guy was or whether it was even real or not. So this is literally in the social media age, how easy it is to frame the other side. It's that easy, literally. So I want people to be very cautious. Since Jen Psaki's allowed to talk about it, I guess we all can now. And this is why I'm very cautious. Is this to say that there's not one trucker that's going to maybe hold up a sign that I don't agree with politically or socially? No, I would assume if there's millions of people involved that there's going to be someone that I disagree with. But this idea that it's not even possible to do what I just said is a lie. And here's why it's so important to have the freedom of speech. Jen Psaki is allowed to question Russia in America. That's great. I'm glad she is, right? She's allowed to accuse them of hatching a false flag plot. I'm glad she is, right? We need that ability, because if we don't have that ability to say this, then people can do it with impunity and we're not allowed to question them. So that's what Big Pharma is doing. Big Pharma has a history of corruption. If you go back to World War II, and I think it was called Zyklon B, I can't remember, history of corruption. Monsanto merged with Bayer. Look up Monsanto's role in nuclear energy, or I'm sorry, the nuclear bomb or the Manhattan Project. I'm not saying that it's all their fault. I'm just saying, go read history. Some of these companies are not the most ethical. They've never had a flawless track record. They've now merged. You have Johnson & Johnson baby powder asbestos problems. You have opioid lawsuits out the wazoo. You have Pfizer settling criminal fines, bribing people. This is all on record, settling lawsuits and fines for this type of stuff. So these are not flawless industries. Every time you watch a commercial that's a pill commercial, side effects, this is a side effect. We know the side effect. Everybody knows about side effects for pills. So when it comes to these products, what people don't realize is all of this censorship of Joe Rogan, of anybody who's talking about the product, this isn't righteous science. This is Big Pharma swallowing up our media outlets in order to create a PR shield so nobody can question their garbage products in certain cases. And some of their products are good. But in general, this is what they're doing. You know that under the PrEP Act in America, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Moderna have shielded themselves from liability under an emergency clause. So if anything happens to you with their product, you can't sue them. Did you know that? I've only said it 1,000 times on my platform, so my audience probably knows it. So they know that these things exist. They cover it up. They protect themselves from liability. They receive immunity, while the people who receive their product maybe receive a month or two immunity, maybe 4 or 5 months, but you got to get 4 in Israel. So they know about this stuff. This is what they're doing. They're trying to make it illegal to talk bad about their company, their product, their service, or anything that they do. And this is the same exact thing that the Biden administration, the Tradoofus administration, and all of these people are trying to do. They're trying to shield their political agenda. They're trying to shield their social agenda. They're trying to shield their dystopian big government agenda behind marginalized groups. So you can't question it. Well, what if we did communist style takeover where your private property doesn't matter? You're not allowed to protest us. We do universal basic income. Your restaurant gets shut down. What if we hid that behind Black Lives Matter, LGBT, and public health? And that's not to say that there isn't real public health things to worry about, kind of like how Doug Ford shuts down gyms and spas. It's like, is that healthy? Doug Ford does not look like a healthy man. Justin Trudeau, a little healthier, a little goofy, but in general, you have cancer, Alzheimer's, obesity. Certain things are not moving in the right direction, and you're taking away people's resources and stressing them out. They've hurt more people than they've helped, and they're never going to do that study. They don't care about that type of data. How many? I don't even want to get into it, but the long story short, they are trying to hide their agenda behind this idea that you can't question them. And right now, because they're doing authoritarianism under the guise of public health in Canada, now that there is a protest to the authoritarianism, they are using more authoritarianism and trying to flex their authoritarianism muscles in order to stop it. And anybody, I don't care if you're left wing or right wing, anybody that's so naive to think that 2 years, 15 days to slow the spread, and our governments are just going to hand over power like with no problem, like, here you go back to. No, these people are holding on to it. And they did authoritarianism then, and everybody was so naive, like, oh, this is going to go away magically. It's like, says no one ever. And now they're using more authoritarianism to try to shut down any protest of their authoritarianism. And speaking of shutting down protests, I'm going to name 3 times that it's happened recently, or at least 2 times before the Canada protest. Let's start with the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping story. This is important because before I knew the truth about this story was in the media over and over and over again, because in America, in April, June, May, we're trying to protest our enslavement. We're being treated like animals, prisoners, slaves, guinea pigs. It's like everybody's on house arrest, even though they didn't commit a crime under the guise of COVID-19. So people are rightfully ticked off. You had 100,000 restaurants go under business. You had people that gained weight. You had people that got depressed. You had, people that kill themselves or overdose because they had no purpose in life and you took away their purpose. So we're trying to protest for our own livelihoods against this tyrannical rule. And you had first Facebook. I'm going to read this real quick. Facebook was shutting down protests because the governor, the psycho governor of New Jersey, can't believe he won another election, was doing so. So this is from Philadelphia Inquirer. It says Facebook shuts down pages promoting anti-shutdown rallies in New Jersey, but not Pennsylvania. So this is Facebook saying, well, if it's a law or we perceive it as a law, we're going to shut down your protest in New Jersey, but not Pennsylvania. What is that really doing? You have the government being full-blown authoritarianism, people in America trying to use their First Amendment right, freedom of expression, speech, at some points protest, to disagree with authoritarianism because it has nothing in common with American values. And you have Facebook collaborating with the government of New Jersey to stop citizens from rightfully protesting against authoritarianism. They're using authoritarianism under the guise of public health and then flexing with more authoritarianism on top of the authoritarianism when people have a problem with it. So that was time 1 during the lockdown when they shut down protests to authoritarianism. Okay, that wasn't good enough. So let's get the media spin, right? Let's convince everybody that everybody's this dangerous psychopath. This is such a strategy for people. Let's make it seem so bad that nobody wants to do it. So there was this Gretchen Whitmer story, the governor of, where is she from again? The governor of, let me know where she's from. Michigan, I believe. Let me know in the comments. Gretchen Whitmer, governor of, I believe, Michigan. All right. So there's this story in the media in America about psychos trying to kidnap, Michigan, thank you, trying to kidnap the governor of Michigan. That's terrible because 1, that's an evil, horrible thing to do. 2, it also makes everybody look like they're a part of that, right? So now if you're just peacefully protesting the lockdowns and there's people that are allegedly trying to kidnap the governor, now they can frame you and say, everybody who's protesting is kind of like those people. So when this story came out, I was sick to my stomach because I was like, either they're lying or people are really stupid enough to set everybody else up and send us back 100 years. So meanwhile, this is a BuzzFeed story. A year after they used that as media fodder to make everybody protesting the lockdowns look bad, it came out that the FBI was not only involved in this, but in many cases, they hatched a lot of the plans themselves. I'm reading directly from BuzzFeed News, who, besides, excuse me, sorry, I stuttered. It's not easy to talk this long, and I got like 6, 7 articles in front of me. But besides the bad, I would say reputation that BuzzFeed might have among conservatives, believe it or not, they really do have a very good investigative journalist team who breaks some pretty important stories sometimes. So this is from BuzzFeed News. It says, an examination of the case by BuzzFeed News also reveals that some of those informants acting under the direction of the FBI played a far larger role than has been previously reported. Working in secret, they did more than just passively observe and report on the actions of the suspects. Instead, they had a hand in nearly every aspect of the alleged plot, starting with its inception. The extent of their involvement raises questions as to whether there would have even been a conspiracy without them. So this is the FBI, not only, I believe, I got to reread it, but like a dozen informants or something. You had them allegedly hatching the idea for it. So it's not like they just found these psychos that were trying to do something violent to a governor. They came up with the idea. Did they do that to do something good? You would like to think so, right? You would like to think that they're just going after bad people, but there's so many stories like this. I remember they did this to a Muslim guy one time too, and they were trying to plant in his head this idea to do something violent. And they had the text messages. It's a CNN article. He's like, I don't want to do anything violent. And you had the informant trying to push him to do something violent to then, I guess, arrest him or something before he did it. But it's like, at what point are you doing too much? So to me, this sounded like, whether this was the intention or not, or this is what they were doing, good or bad intentions, it sounds to me like they're doing protests. They're protesting our authoritarianism. Let's figure out a way to make it look dangerous and violent so we could shut down their protests and can continue doing authoritarianism. That's what it sounds like to me. And now you have, and I know a lot of people might disagree with this, but the stupid January 6th event, which was an entire setup, and now everybody that does anything right wing, they're like, January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. The aimless Donald Trump tells everybody, Mike Pence, blah, blah, blah. Let me throw a Hail Mary and get y'all riled up. I'm not saying he caused it. I'm not saying it's all his fault. I'm not saying they're telling the truth about everything. I'm not saying innocent people are guilty, but I'm just saying it's the perfect event to now demonize anybody that wasn't there, anybody that's right wing, anybody that's conservative, anybody that goes against medical tyranny, and use that as a broad brush to try to paint everybody like that and drag it out for 3 years like the Russia collusion. And in Canada, it's the same thing. It's like, well, you have this massive workers' protest of truckers who provide us with so much benefit in this society. How can we avoid having a conversation with them? And how can we make it look evil? I don't know, swastikas, Confederates, white supremacy, anti-transgender. Like, they've thrown every word at the book when the real protest is about what I'm talking about. It's about anti-mandates. It's not an anti-vaccine protest. It's an anti-mandate protest. And that's what Elon Musk said. He said, I'm not anti-vaccine personally. He said, I'm against mandates. I don't believe in mandates. And he's been consistent since March. He was, honestly, you could say what you want about Elon. He did more than the GOP for freedom. He was like, no, this is all BS. It's overblown. They're lying about the hospital number. Like, he was the real deal the entire time when Trump was running around telling people that Sweden's so bad for locking down. So, he's done more for American freedom than like anybody in the Republican Party has with his billion-dollar voice. You don't even got to use money. He's just shouting out on Twitter. But in general, to make a long story short, there have been multiple times, Facebook, New Jersey, Gretchen Whitmer plot, January 6th, to paint everybody in this huge broad brush so nobody can reject authoritarianism. And if you think that this is just random and coincidental, I mean, I don't know the saying, I have a Brooklyn Bridge to sell you. I don't even know the saying, so I already butchered it, but it's kind of funny messing it up. It makes the joke funnier. You get what I'm saying? It's like, people are so foolish. People are so naive. So I pray that people are waking up to what's going on here with the trucker protests. And to be fair and as nonpartisan as I could be with my opinions and feelings, where is this going to lead? I have no idea. Millions of dollars are being raised. People are sitting there honking their horns, blocking traffic, refusing to work. Justin Trudeau refuses to actually have a conversation with them. He lies about them. He calls them like an anti-tranny movement or something. It's like, bro, what are you talking about? Just talk. But this is how arrogant our leaders are. They don't want to have a conversation with you. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to be honest and say, well, if we have the science, then what the hell is Sweden doing? How come they're taking down their testing restrictions? If you have the science, why is half of Europe now disagreeing with you? If you have the science, why does Russia have different rules? If you have the science, why does Africa have different rules? If you guys have so much science, then why does the World Health Organization disagree with the CDC on childhood booster shots? They don't have the science. They don't have monopoly on science, okay? They use the PCR test invented by Carrie Mullis, and then they delete videos of Carrie Mullis. That's how sick these people are. If the average person actually used their brain and didn't just sit on the couch and listen to like Rachel Maddow, or whoever they're, whatever app that they're following, they would realize how anti-scientific these people are. They piggyback on the inventions and of Carrie Mullis. They piggyback on the discoveries of Luc Montagnier. They piggyback on the discoveries of Watson and Crick, and then call everybody a racist, sexist, homophobe who did what they could never do. Carrie Mullis invented the PCR test. They banned my videos of Carrie Mullis. Okay, he can't talk, but you could use his test. That's not science. That's tyranny. That's government fronting as if they're some sort of Albert Einstein figure when they're really the most corrupt sleazeballs in modern history. And that's the same thing with Big Pharma. These are some of the most corrupt, the least ethical sleazeballs in modern history. Okay. It used to be the military industrial complex. How can we dupe the left wing? How can we dupe the right wing into killing Gaddafi or going overseas and fighting some random people for a foreign country that people think like them, but they don't even care about them? How can we figure that out? Let's sell a bunch of Raytheon bombs or whatever, weapons. It's like now big medical complex is more money. How much money does Big Pharma give politicians? The most. How much do they collaborate with television and big tech and create all these little things and work together? The most, more than weapons. So now you have the pharma industrial complex. And the pharma industrial complex, instead of sending your kids off to war to fight in a foreign country in an endless war, they're now doing it abroad. Millions of people dead because of opioids. Fentanyl killing tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of kids at a very, very young age. These are not these are the sleaziest industries in America that are so gung-ho about profits, so gung-ho about authoritarianism, and so gung-ho about not being questioned that they are not even acknowledging some of their biggest flaws in modern history. You don't have to go back 100 years to talk about the opioid crisis. It's happening right now. The companies that are having immunity shielded for their new products that you're not allowed to question are literally settling multi-billion-dollar lawsuits for opioids as we speak. Google Johnson & Johnson opioid settlement. It's happening as they're forcing this product on you and saying that you're not allowed to disagree with it. This had nothing to do with science. It's full-blown authoritarianism. It's full-blown tyranny. And the people that think, oh, it's not really happening, you're naive and foolish. And the idiots that sit on television and think, well, it's just Joe Rogan, he's a little too edgy. I'm not trying to be rude because I like these people, but I was listening to Tim Dillon, who I really like, talk to Andrew Schultz and his little podcast buddy. I forget his name. I love Andrew Schultz. I think he's funny, but when I'm listening to them talk to Tim Dillon, I'm just hearing them be cowards. They're like, well, you think America's going to be like China? It already is like China, dummy. It's just not you because you're cracking dumb jokes like you're a fifth grader, but people who actually say something and mean something and stand behind it, they're already having their bank accounts closed. There already is a social credit score. Hundreds of comedians that are funnier than you have already been kicked off of social media. Joe Rogan, you're next, dummies. They're like, maybe if we just make fart jokes and just say a bunch of nothings forever, we'll be protected. It's not like it already is. And you're next, Akash, whatever it is. You're next, Andrew Schultz. You guys, I'm not even trying to be mean because I like Andrew Schultz, but it's like, you guys are like, oh, I'm safer than Joe. Like, yeah, for now. Our country's already going that way, and you're next on the chopping block. You're the next one to get kicked off of social media. You already did for your Alex Jones. Just listening to them talk to Tim Dillon, they're like, I don't understand, Tim. I'm playing dumb so I can be a big boy and get my Patreon money. It's like, you're next, okay? Don't try to make everybody else feel bad and feel fearful for what they're doing. You guys are eventually somewhere on that line of not people that are just going to spew mainstream media talking points because you have a good podcast. So don't act like it's everybody else and it's not happening here. It is happening here. And they've ushered through a whole new agenda every single time that it's like, oh, we messed up. What do? They give hundreds of millions of dollars to some left-wing organization. Spotify, oh, we messed up. Now we got to give back to, minority communities. Here's an idea. I have two friends I don't have just two friends that are black, but I'm just saying I have two rapper friends that are black. Patriot J and Bryson Gray. They're both right-wing, they're both Christian, and they both didn't curse. And you, Spotify, you kicked their song off of Spotify. They didn't curse, they're Christian, they're black, they don't talk about pills and drugs, they talk about right-wing talking points, jokes, commentary on LGBT, and you kicked them off. So when they say, oh, we're going to empower black people with our money, it's like, just put my friend's song back on Spotify and you can empower them for free. You're not going to give money to Bryson Gray. You're not going to give money to Patriot J. You're not going to give money to Candace Owens. You're not going to give money to the Hoteps. You're not going to give money to Kwame Brown. You're not going to give money to Kanye West. Who are you going to give money to? Left-wing propaganda organizations that further perpetuate the demise of the Black community, further perpetuate the demise of the First Amendment, and further perpetuate the demise of Western society through their bullshit Marxist overthrow under the guise of racial activism. So you're not really empowering anybody. You're frauds. And so are all of these companies. Oh, we made a boo-boo. Let's give 300 million groups to a bunch of psychopaths who are going to ruin our entire league. It's so draining. It's so exhausting. And all of this stuff is just mental gymnastics to destroy society. Let's talk about the Olympics, right? The Olympics are going on. Doesn't matter what ethnic, background you come from. It's what country do you live in? Who do you play for? How good are you? That's what makes the Olympics great, right? We don't care who you are. If you're the best, and your country will love you, right? What if we did what we do with everything else in society? We said, you know what? I'm offended, right? I'm not a model. I'm not skinny. I'm not super strong. I'm not a jacked like a shot put thrower, whatever, whoever you are. I feel like we should replace all the greatest athletes with as subpar average athletes so I feel better, because I'm a good athlete, but I'm not good enough to be at the Olympics. So I feel bad. They make me feel inferior. They make me feel like I'm not good enough to play sports. So let's replace all the good athletes with subpar athletes. And let's have the subpar Olympics where people who suck at basketball miss layups. So I feel good about myself. Would that be fun to watch? No, everybody wants to watch greatness. Who's the best? Black, white, Asian. Who's the best? Who's the best gymnast? Who's the best snowboarder? That's what the Olympics is. If you did what they're doing in all parts of society to the Olympics, it would blow. And that's what they're doing to everything. We don't care who the best pilot is. We don't care who the best marketer is. We don't care who the best chef is. Let's get somebody who makes me feel good. Let's get the fattest, supermodel we could find to make me feel better about eating French fries all the time. And it's like, I don't care who you are or what you do, but it's like, if you did this to every part of society, the whole society is going to wear down. It's not to say you can't have relatable models. They don't have to be toothpick skinny. There could be some fat models. I'm not against it, but this idea that they're at war with greatness, they're at war with beauty, they're at war with the free market, they're at war with the First Amendment, they're at war with anybody that's intelligent enough to see what they're going through. It doesn't make sense in anything, and it doesn't make sense in the Olympics. I don't like the fact that they're showing off like peak males and peak females that are really athletic. So let's just ruin the whole event and let's just get a bunch of average dads who miss free throws so I could feel good about myself. Like, it wouldn't be an event. And that's what they're doing to every aspect of society. That's why progress after billions of dollars of Black Lives Matter money includes grown Black men wearing cloths over their breathing hole, looking like they got captured from a foreign country, sitting on the sidelines at an NBA game next to Steve Kerr, making millions of dollars to sit there humiliated, covering their genetic smile that their ancestors gave them through DNA that they're supposed to show off to the world. I'm Kyrie Irving. I'm Kevin Durant. I'm the man. Now they're sitting there looking like a confused show animal at a circus because, I don't know, big billionaire, owner collaborates with the government, collaborates with the CDC, collaborates with these psychopaths, running your life in big pharma to humiliate these grown millionaires on the sideline for the next 3 years. When you can go to Sweden and not wear a mask, you can go to Texas and not wear a mask. Guys, I live in California. I don't dress like that. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. You look like a shame-captured man. But you're the rich guy. Why do you do that? Because they're forcing you. So the point I'm trying to get to is, does BLM talk about that sort of thing? Freeing the face, freeing the smile, freeing the identity of these grown athletes? No, because it's a total lie. It's a total sham. Let's funnel a bunch of money in. Let's overthrow society. Let's turn it in so there is no freedom and everybody thinks this is the new normal. Free speech bad, masking good, private property bad, governments and corporations owning everything good, talent bad, and getting there, earning it is bad, ruining everything to make everybody that's inferior feel better good. And it's going to have an impact. Everything's going to wear down. So I hope that people pay attention, because all of this stuff, they don't talk about any of that. And once again, before I end it, I just want to show, because I know recently, I'm probably not going to do the interview because I don't trust them, but the CBC, Canadian broadcast, whatever, they reached out to me and they're like, Anomaly, We want to talk about Yuri Bezmenov. I guess I have a viral Yuri Bezmenov video, and the Canadian government corporate news wants to talk to me. I'm sure they have a lot nice to say. But just for these people in Canadian news and government, etc., this is called the Communist Manifesto. Okay, I've done my research. I could read word for word what's in it. Let me know what sounds familiar with what's going on, okay? Because I'm tired of being called a conspiracy theorist or a liar or whatever. Or you're too fake and stupid to have a real conversation with me. I'm sorry, this is not even the book. That's Color Communism and Common Sense by Manning Johnson, another good one. But this is the Communist Manifesto. Ready? Abolition of property and land, a heavy progressive or graduated income tax, which is like left-wing standard, confiscation of property, which you guys did under the guise of public health, centralization of credit in the hands of the state, a national bank with a state capital and an exclusive monopoly. They've had that in America for a while, a national bank, but also Federal Reserve type stuff. But also they're so mad at Bitcoin, et cetera, because they can't fully control it. Centralization of the means of communication and transportation in the hands of the state. They're trying to control all communication. So I know what's in the book. I know the Black Lives Matter founders. I've watched interviews of them. I know who inspired them. They've said it on camera. They've bragged about the book that they're handing out at schools, saying it's just like Mao Zedong's book. Mao Zedong killed tens of millions of people through starvation. I know what you're doing. I don't need you to write stupid articles and try to make me look bad because you're some doofus who gets paid like 60 to 80 grand from a government program. It's like, I get funding from the government to smear Americans and Canadians. It's like, you're a loser. You know what I'm saying? You're no hero. You're no Edgar Allan Poe. All right. You're no Malcolm X. You're no Martin Luther King. You're no Rosa Parks. You take money from a corporation that gets funding for the government, and all you do is write slanted, lopsided articles that people believe. Meanwhile, you're trying to shut down Joe Rogan types. It's like, you guys are such weirdos, losers. I understand why you're trying to skew society. It's like you want everyone to be as miserable and fake as you and just suffer for the next 30 years with their breathing holes in their smile behind a cloth mask. You got grown Black millionaire men saying Black Lives Matter with a thing over their face. Meanwhile, they can't even, you won't even let them smile on camera. That's so evil. Let these people live. Let these people breathe. Let these people enjoy their identity instead of treating them like lab rats. Like, you get tested here, tested here, tested here, tested here. But yeah, Black Lives Matter or whatever. Yeah, we'll give $250 million to whoever. Yeah, as long as they're left wing. Don't give it to Candace Owens. Don't give it to Bryson Gray. Don't give it to Patriot J. Don't give it to Brandon Tatum or anything. Definitely don't give it to like Ben Carson or Alan West. Give it to like the craziest left wing. What black money that they're handing out? How much of it is going to anybody that's like further right than Stalin? Not very many. Like, oh yeah, we love Black women, so we're going to give Candace Owens money to start a Black Women's Foundation. Yeah, they're not doing that. They're not going to do that. They're going to give it to some far left organization that has Stalinite mentality to then push their BS ideology of anti-freedom and anti-private property through the guise of Black and LGBT, so you can't question it. It's a genius strategy, actually. Black Lives Matter, genius branding, 10 out of 10. I mean, if you want to learn marketing, just look at Black Lives Matter. They pushed a Marxist communist ideology through the idea that if you don't like them, you don't like Black people, and you're saying that their lives don't matter. 10 out of 10. They should write a masterclass on how to deceive the public. A lot of this LGBT stuff, it's like, what are you really doing? Do you love everybody? Are you like a super nice person? Or are you only open to one side of politics? And that's the side of politics you're trying to drive and hide it behind a rainbow flag. So if I push the rainbow flag out of the way and say, I don't agree with this political ideology, you're like, that's a hate crime. That's hate speech. It's like, no, it's not. I can't even watch ESPN anymore. I can't even watch NFL anymore. They're crying about, oh my God, a coach got fired for his ethnicity, and now they hired a Black guy who looks whiter than Sean King. They're like, we got a biracial coach. It's like, okay, I'm sure he is part Black. I'm not knocking his ethnicity, but it's like, he's probably lighter skinned than mine. But I guess as long as that appeases the crowd, it's like, what about just hiring the best coach? Like, who wants to live this way? Oh, I got to hire somebody like that or else they'll get mad at me. You guys are not free. And these people, this is my last thing I'm going to say. The people that are playing these games, the GM, the people in the NFL, the Stephen A. Smith con artist types, you think it's about, oh, we're really how they're going to go down the line, down the line, down the line, down the line, down the line. And eventually it's going to come to you, Stephen A. Smith, and you're going to want to say something edgy or cool. And eventually you're going to offend Big Pharma. You're going to offend the government. You're going to offend the elites. And then they're going to fire you just like they fired him. So all these people that think they're safe, all these people, well, it's just Joe Rogan. I'm Andrew Schultz. And, we don't say that much. It's like, yeah, they're going that direction for all comedians. Anybody in any form, in any way that questions authority. Big government takeover, elimination of private property, total control of communication, elimination of First Amendment, elimination of protesting. So you're safe now because there's other people that are saying more than you. But as soon as those people get out of the way, you're not that far down the line. And people like Stephen A. Smith, he's further down the line, but not that much further. They have a specific goal in mind. You have a voice, I'm going to make opinions about this and that. It's cool. It's funny. It's interesting. For now, just make sure you parrot what they tell you to. Kanye West can rap about drugs, and he never really did that much, but he can rap about drugs. Eminem can rap about killing his wife or his mom, like these sicko, like Stephen King-esque lyrics of like killing people in your family. Like, it's disgusting, but that was always allowed on Spotify. Still is. You could tell kids to pop Percocet, Molly, Percocet. Kids are dying of opioids, fentanyl, pop pills. Lil Peep dead. Juice WRLD dead. Mac Miller dead. All these rappers are dying from overdoses, and you could still just talk about killing kids or whatever. But God forbid you question Big Pharma, you're out. It's not come on, folks, wake up. This is not for your health. This is not for your benefit. This is Big Pharma, big government, big tech, big media collaborating to take out any political opponent to their new normal authoritarianism. It's so obvious. So obvious. Literally, they're banning Christian songs with no curse words because they question Big Pharma and LGBT. Yet you can literally talk about killing kids in your song, and they're like, that's dope. We should put that on the radio. Yeah, Percocets and Molly from Future. Yeah, that's really what the kids need to hear now. More Molly and more No, that's killing kids. Kids listen to that, and it inspires them to take pills. And then they overdose on fentanyl and opioids. And then you guys settle billion-dollar lawsuits and then push your new product behind an immunity shield. Smart people are waking up to what they're doing. That's it for today, folks. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. I appreciate you so much. I'm grateful to be here. I'm glad that I'm able to be here. And that's what it is, folks. Hopefully you have a beautiful week. I had a great day. I had a great weekend. I'm going to continue to have it. Do not let the media get you down. Do not let these liars get you down. Don't let social media get you down. Don't let your own echo chamber get you down, whether you're left wing, right wing, or whatever. It's a lot to consume, a lot of Facebook, a lot of Twitter, a lot of opinions. It could be stressful. So make sure you know how to turn your phone off. Make sure you know how to get some air, do something that you love, because social media is not that bad when you chop it up. But when you're just sucked into it for too long and you're getting 1,000 opinions at once that are just stupid, it could be a little stressful. So make sure you enjoy yourself, enjoy your week, have a good time. And since they're trying to make us all weak and pathetic, regardless of whatever gender, ethnicity, culture, country you're from, make sure you try to spend some time this week, going for a walk, going for a jog, working out, something that's productive for your health. Because in this world, if you really want to be rebellious, take care of yourself. They're trying to wear your body down in every way, with the food, with the media, with the culture. So, the best way to be rebellious is not to be violent, is not to be, all mad and emotional. The best way to rebel is to be peaceful, happy, enjoy your life, and take care of yourself. And I want to say this, it's like, I look at this stuff to end on a beautiful note, and I feel bad because I want Kyrie Irving, I want Kevin Durant to live a better life than me. They deserve to. They're monsters at the sport, and I think they're epic. But it's like, I'm more free than them. I'm more free than Joe Biden. I'm more free than an Olympic athlete. So I don't envy any of that stuff. I mean, I would love to be good at sports, but it's like, I wouldn't get treated like cattle. They're treating people like literally cattle. You fly over to China and then have to wear a mask, get tested. It's like, what? You're like a lab rat for what? What did you do? This is the new normal. This wasn't a thing. Now it's the new normal. How long are people going to put up with this stuff? For what? So it's like, I'm extra grateful today, and I'm extra grateful every day because I'm looking at all these millionaires, politicians, and I'm like, wow, God has really blessed me. I'm more free than they are. I'm probably happier than they are. Like, I would never do that. I don't care how much they pay me. So it's like, in this world, the way to really rebel and win is to be happy. to be free, be healthy, not too free though. You don't want your mind so open that it falls out, right? Everybody needs some sort of discipline and structure in their life. But be happy, take care of yourself, and that's how you win. Don't let any political page tell you to be angry and emotional. That's how they play you. And I see them doing it not just to the left wing, but to the right wing. You hate what the left wing's doing. Yeah, well, get angry like me. What does that lead? That leads to an aimless protest that nobody knows why they're there, getting set up, and now they can't go anywhere for 3 years, and now they're in trouble, and now they're backpedaling on defense. You know, that's how you get tricked as a right winger into that type of situation, through anger and emotion. So don't let even your favorites let you get angry aimlessly, because what is that going to do? I could be mad. You know, I'm definitely passionate about this stuff. Like, throws. It's like, what's that really going to do? So be happy, be healthy, take care of yourself, have a beautiful week. And real quick, stayintouchwithme.com, my free email list. That's stayintouchwithme.com. I have all my links, or most of them. I'm going to add them all. dreamrarelinks.com. If you want to find me on a social media, you can. Also, I have dreamrare.com, or godblesshats.com. We're almost out of pretty much all of our merch, so get it while you can. I'm restructuring everything. So dreamrare, godblesshats.com. Appreciate y'all. Have a beautiful one, and I'll be back soon.